Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry that it's been a while since I've come on here to share with you. Um, I've been busy around Christmas time and different things, starting a new semester in school because I'm working on a second master's degree. But I'm back, and I'm going to be back to trying to get one video out a week for you. And so we hope that everything goes well. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. And I'm going to pick up on the grand story of the Bible. This is part 3. So if you want to get caught up, you can stop here and go watch part 1 and 2. And this is the grand story of the Bible, part 3, the fall, part 2. So we ended with Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the garden. And now humanity has a broken relationship with God. They are no longer in communion. And Adam and Eve, who were, appointed to care for the earth, are no longer in that position to do so.
Chat.
That's kind of where we're picking things up here. And Adam and Eve, they have 2 children. They were told to be fruitful and multiply, so they are carrying on with being fruitful and multiplying. They have 2 children. The oldest one that they mention here, they actually have more, but the ones that we're concerned about are Cain and Abel. Cain was their first child. Abel was born after Cain, and Cain became jealous of Abel. So Cain gathered the wheat from his field and offered it to God, and God did not accept that offering. Abel decides he's going to come in and take the best of his flock, and he offers his flock to God. And so we are kind of looking at this. He offers his flock to God, and we are now talking about God coming in, and he is pleased with Abel because Abel gave his best. But he rejected Cain's offering. Doesn't really specifically say why. Most biblical scholars and theologians would say that it was probably because the grain wasn't the best that Cain had to offer. Cain probably had livestock too and could have offered one of those livestock. The blood, there may have been something with the blood because in the ancient world, blood could purify. When you went to purify an altar, you would purify it with the blood of an animal being sacrificed. Sometimes there would be an own sacrifice just to purify the altar before you could sacrifice the animal that's being sacrificed for the people. So Cain murders Abel, and Abel comes in, and first he asks Cain, "What's happened to your brother?" And Cain plays it off. Cain says, "Why are you asking me about my brother? Am I my brother's keeper?" And God's not really satisfied with that answer. Oftentimes we do that in ourselves. With God and with people, we will, when we do things that we know we've done wrong, it can be embarrassing. It can be awkward. The best thing we can do is to own up to our sins, to ask God for forgiveness, to ask the people that we've sinned against forgiveness. But Cain never asked for forgiveness. So God banishes Cain. Cain goes off and has children. His children become the tribes that Adam and Eve's other descendants are going to have to deal with. They kind of become the troublemakers. From there, we move on to Noah. So Noah is one of the younger descendants of Adam and Eve. Noah, there's a few generations before Noah. I've never counted them to find out exactly how many, but Noah comes up on the scene, and Noah, it says that that Noah's a righteous man, but he's living in midst of a bunch of unrighteous people. You have, you know, it's kind of a chaotic time because there's no way to kind of establish justice um, with everything that's going on there, and so you have no way of really coming in and organizing things. There's just, bandits are raiding and people are doing whatever they want to, and there's no disregard for God. No, there's no regard for God, no regard for morality. And but Noah is righteous. He does honor God, and he is moral. And actually his grandfather is Enoch, and it's Enoch's also righteous, and Noah's the grandfather. Um, Enoch winds up being taken up to heaven because he's righteous. God wants to spare him. Noah is told to build an ark, and he's told that it's going to flood. And this ark would have taken him months, if not a year or two, to build. So as he's building this ark, you know, you probably have people coming in just kind of mocking him. Um, the most of the movie uh, depictions show that. The book, there's the movie called Noah that it doesn't strictly restrict itself to the biblical narrative. It's borrowing from other books like Jubilees, um, First Enoch, and probably other Near Eastern flood stories as well, to make their kind of storyline for the movie. But it makes for a pretty good, interesting movie, although it's not, strictly sticking to the biblical stuff. Um, and so I'll just leave that there with that as far as that goes. But so with Cain and Abel, got no, with Noah builds this ark, um, and eventually he goes in and he sends all the animals in, right? All the animals from, they say it's around the world. It's probably local region, um, right? People have kind of imagined that he's waiting for polar bears and emperor penguins to come in from Antarctica. I don't think that's the case, but either way, he's waiting for the animals. The point is that God brings the animals; He doesn't go out and get them. They come in two by two. They're go into this ark that Noah built, and then the floods come. The floods come, and the waters. It even says that the waters start to come up out of the earth. So this is you're getting hit by water from below and from above with this, because you have waters coming up out of the earth, and you have rain falling from the sky, and the torrent just drowns everybody out. And there are different theories as to whether this flood is global or regional. I could see it being a regional flood. I could also see it being a global flood. I don't really take any strong stances on that. The language does kind of lean towards a global flood, though, when you read the Bible. But not to get too much tangent into that, what we're looking at with this flood is a purification. God has purified the earth of these sinful, rebellious people. Um, and it's they die, but it's like a purification of the earth, a purification of the planet, in a sense, at least of that region, of everything that's been going on and of all the chaos that goes on there. And so as we come at there, it says that you have the story of the water receding, slowly receding. He sends out a raven. The raven comes back, or he sends out a dove first. The dove comes back. He sends out a raven, and then the raven comes back, and then he sends out a raven again, and the raven doesn't return. He sends out a dove twice, and then the raven doesn't return, and that's when he knows it's safe to go out of the ark. So they go out of the ark. They're on Mount Ararat, And Noah gets drunk, and one of his sons, the youngest one, sees him, and he gets sent off. And it says he leaves the group because he dishonored Noah by looking at Noah. Noah got drunk and was naked. In a structure he built or in a cave or whatever. And apparently, the implication, why it doesn't give us details, the implication is that Noah's son was being unruly. And so he gets sent off. He was maybe even trying to take authority of the family. So he takes him and his wife and children, and they leave. And then Noah and his sons were there. And one thing I actually meant to discuss, and I completely forgot, was the reason for the flood. The reason for the flood was because, as the Bible states, the sons of man began to have children with the daughters of men, or the sons of God began to have children with the daughters of men. And there's been a debate about what this means. Some people have said that the sons of God's having sex with the daughters of women is wealthy sons going and marrying daughters from poor families, and that this violates kind of the classes of people, the different classes of people. So you have like the upper class is now intermingling with the lower class, but that doesn't really fit kind of the larger narrative of the Bible. Like, we never see God say that, rich people can't marry poor people can't marry rich people. So it's something else. I think that what you have is angels having intercourse with women. It took me a while to come to that, just because that sounds so weird. But there are two books, ancient Jewish books. They weren't around when Genesis was written, but they are around before the New Testament, before Jesus is born. And that's the Book of Jubilees and First Enoch. And so the Book of Jubilees just says that, basically says that the angels started having sex with women. The Book of Enoch calls them watchers. So the watchers come down, they start having sex with women, and you get these Nephilim, these giants. We're going to see one later named Goliath. So giants in the land, and that was the cause of the flood. And so now back to where we were. The waters have receded, and the people are supposed to go out and fill the earth. Right, that God still has repeated that mandate. After the flood, God basically repeats the mandate that he gave to Adam and Eve to go out and fill the earth and to subdue it. And this subduing, I don't know necessarily means conquering, probably more the way a farmer or a gardener would subdue a piece of land. So you come in, you cultivate it, and you make things grow. I think that's kind of in the context of what's going on. That's what they're talking about, especially when you consider that the initial charge given to Adam and Eve was to take care of the planet. And so that's kind of reiterated. It doesn't go away. We're supposed to take care of the planet. Which is a good reason not to litter and a good reason to clean up messes. Something we as a species on the planet haven't done a good job of all the time. But continuing on, they're told to go, they end up being told to go, fruitful, multiply. And he says, establishes a covenant with them. He says, I've established my covenant with you that never again will flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And so they're supposed to scatter out, but instead they decide to stick together, and they decide to build a tower at a place called Babel, which they have disagreements over where it is. It's probably in Iraq, but there's debates about that as far as like the location of where this would have been built. So instead of spreading out, they decide to build this power, and it's so that they can go up to the gods. So the people are actually they're building this. It's probably a ziggurat, and one of the things the purpose of a ziggurat was to make a way so that the gods could come down and that you could go up, and you would offer sacrifices. You would in different ways, basically feeding the gods. And it was a way to manipulate the gods to try to get the gods to give you what you want. Uh, and so that's what they're doing. Because let's face it, it says that they were going to build the trying to build it go to the heavens. The ancient people didn't see the world the way that we do, but they weren't stupid. Um, so they know they're not going to build a tower that can go to the moon. Like they know that, but so this kind of indicates that they're kind of expecting it's kind of a metaphorical language, and they come in, and so God sees this, and He sees that they're all in one language. So and they're not spreading out and subduing the earth. So what He decides to do is to confuse their languages. If you can't communicate, it makes it really hard to work together. And if you can't come up with same system of measurements or even the same words to call those measurements, if you don't even share words, much less the meanings of words, it becomes really hard to communicate. Um, I had to learn this because I lived in Germany for 5 years growing up as a kid. My dad was in the Air Force station there, and you went around until like my German never got really good, but I was able to go around town and without using much English if I wanted to, and I could make purchases without using English. Uh, go in and buy food and buy whatever else I wanted to. Uh, so they but my German wasn't good. Everybody that spoke to me knew I was American. Uh, but the thing is, like, first get there, I see English looking letters, but they're arranged in ways that like I wouldn't even know how to pronounce. And then in German, they had two letters that we don't even have here. And actually, they have four letters that we don't even have in English. Um, but so I'm looking, coming to the airport at Frankfurt, and that's what I'm seeing on the signs. Of course, Frankfurt being an international airport, they had all kinds of languages on the signs. But so I'm seeing this, and I'm hearing different languages. I have no idea what they're saying. Um, so that's what it would have been like. 1 minute they can communicate, the next minute they can't. So they do spread out among the earth. Um, and that is kind of where what I would call the second fall ends. I would call it the third fall because I kind of think there's three falls here. I think you have the fall of Adam and Eve, and then you have the people beginning with Cain's murder of Abel, the people becoming corrupt, which necessitated the flood, and then you have the building of the Tower of Babel in order to try and manipulate God. So God spreads them out, and John Walton describes it this way. In summary, the project is a temple complex featuring a ziggurat which was designed to make it convenient to come down to his temple, bless his people, and receive their worship. That's kind of what the ziggurats were doing. But it's kind of a way of manipulation, especially since they weren't commanded to worship God that way. And Michael Heiser, his comment is this. He says, Yahweh, in effect, decided that the people of the world's nations were no longer going to be in relationship with him, right? He confuses their languages, not being able to communicate breaks a relationship. And God is now, he's fully broken off relationship with humanity. So you had Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve got expelled from the garden, but there's still a relationship there. They're just banished from the garden itself. So the relationship is strained. You have the angels sleeping with the daughters of men, and God sees that. That creates a strain on the relationship between angels, a strain on the relationship between men for kind of going along with it. Then you have this building of this Tower of Babel, this ziggurat, to try and entice God to come in and receive their worship when they haven't done what God has commanded them to do, which was to go out into the world and to multiply, be fruitful and multiply. And so this is it. This is the end of the second one of the fall. And what we have now is we're going to move into other covenants. So we kind of started with a sort of covenant, at least an agreement, a charge between Adam and Eve. It's what God created them to be, caretakers of the garden. They were supposed to Edenize the earth. They ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which means they're choosing that knowledge over God. That breaks the relationship, strains the relationship between them and God. Then you have Cain murdering Abel. You have the sons of men, probably angels, sleeping and having children with the daughters of women. You have the flood, with Noah being the representative. You have then after the flood, instead of spreading out to subdue the earth, they decide to build a tower to try and manipulate God, to try and get God to come down to them. And so God confuses their languages and scatters them among the earth. And so that's where we come. And next time we will start with Abraham. So look forward to that. We're going to see what God does to bring them back from that situation of people being spread across the earth. So I thank you for coming in here. I'll see you next week, and may you have a blessed day. Thank you. Bye.